Home Team FM is proud to celebrate 30 years of Home Team. I've got Mr. Gene Sego, also known as Mean Gene 13, arguably the cleanup batter for the Home Team, spreading the word and the gospel far and wide for 30 years. Gene, it's great to have you on.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Russ. Appreciate it.
So let's set the stage. So 30 years ago, 1995, Athens, Georgia. I was living there. You were living there. That was a magical time in Athens. You know, we had the music scene was on top of its game, arguably, and REM was buying up most of downtown, and the Classic Center was brand new. The theater had all the groups, the original Georgia Theater, you know, the Meters, new group called Government Mule was just coming around. And with the Classic Center being the first year, we had the Widespread Panic, you know, 2-night run at Halloween. That was a Halloween weekend was the Georgia-Florida game, only time it's ever been in Athens. And the Braves took the pennant that weekend. So that was a riot. And I remember being introduced to Home Team through the tapers. And I know that you have been a taper for a really long time. So tell me about what was going on in your life in 1995, Athens, Georgia.
All right. Absolutely. Yeah. 1995 was a great time. I had recently graduated from University of Florida, 1993, and knocked around Gainesville for a while. And then I gave up my apartment in 95 beginning of 95, and then kind of just hit the road. And I was in Athens, couch surfing and doing my thing and seeing lots of great music, taping lots of great bands. And you're right, there was a ton of good music around everywhere, great bands going on. And we were taping a ton of music. And, I had met Eli earlier that spring, I think in Birmingham's at the Dead shows in April. Was that 4 and 5 or 3 and 4, 4 and 5, something like that, April. And I think I was set up in his seat with our gear, and I met him. That seemed to happen a lot. That's how I met Chris Cage in 94 at the Omni, setting up in maybe the wrong seat or not having a seat. And, and that's how we become fast friends with some great people and some tapers. So, that was kind of the beginning. And, and then we just kept seeing lots of shows. And, that was the start or that was my time in Athens. We're just seeing music. I mean, you could almost see music every night in Athens, right? Probably still can, so it was hot, right?
Yeah, that was a hot time. As Eli said to me, as I understood it, he said at the Dead show, Birmingham, 95, he said he knew immediately when you handed him a sticker that said, "Just say no to swag." He's like, this is my guy. This is my friend.
Earlier in the spring there, I had made some "Just Say No to Swag" stickers. They were very brown, ugly brown, and paper. So they were just, crappy quality, just like swag. So, I was just handing those out. I love stickers. Who doesn't love stickers? I've always loved stickers since I was a kid. So stickers are fun. And so we were handing those out. And then, after that, after the Dead run, Panic was playing all around. They were just killing it. So saw Eli down in Florida at the Run of May shows, Janice Landing, I think maybe the Edge. And again, we just became closer and closer. And then, doing lots of shows together, Panic and Fish, lots of Panic, lots of Fish, some Dead jumping on and off. And we just started, we were taping. So we just started riding together and taping. And that's, we became very good friends. We had a lot in common, family and, birthdays near each other, and just both from Georgia. I'm from Florida. Moms are from the South, from Georgia, close to each other. And we became very good friends pretty quickly, but yeah. Just say no to swag. That was a
so to that tune of you guys riding around the South, touring bands. There's a story as JT Lucchese says, he writes Home Team, a hazy recollection, and it goes like this. He says, the tale begins around 95 with two best friends, E-Rock 173 and Mean Gene 13, who were on the road recording the music of great bands around the country. Even though they were the best of friends, sometimes they would argue about who was the best touring band at the time. From slighted jokes to full-on arguments armed with charts and graphs, they continued this argument till a helpful soul settled it by stating, it doesn't matter what you think about another person's joy. You just need to pull for your own home team. Thusly, an inside joke was born amongst a small group of tapers and their friends and family. So I know with every home team story, there is contradiction and different recollections. So how do you recall that?
It's pretty close. That's pretty close. Again, we were seeing a ton of panic, a ton of widespread panic, and a ton of Fish, right? So they were playing a ton of dates back then, and we would see a bunch of Panic, and sometimes Panic one night, Fish one night. They'd be alternating, seeing some Dead in there too, and other bands as well. But lots of whole tours of Panic and Fish at the same time. So, and they were both really, really tearing it up. I mean, that
was a strong era for both of those bands, and that was the Dead's last year. So, I mean, all that was going on.
Yeah, and they obviously weren't at their peak, but as Grateful Dead.
It was still, I mean, yeah,
best. No, it's still the best. So you can't make. Just brought me, and those were so much joy too. But I would say, we would bypass some Dead shows, and not knowing what would happen, what's going to happen. And I remember we sold our Pittsburgh Dead show, Dead tickets, and went and saw Fish at the Man. And then we skipped something else and saw Panic. So, but great music. So, and we were taping them all. And I remember it that we were at Eli's house in Little Five in Atlanta. And we were listening to tapes, listening to Panic and listening to Fish and having a spirited debate. And then one of us said, well, you got to go with Home Team. You got to go with the Home Team, which obviously at that point I think was Panic because we're right there, and then it kind of just morphed into that because then we got back. We talk about it all the time. We'd be on the road together, going to Panic or Fish and saying, well, gosh, Fish is Home Team too. I mean, they're saying, they're just tearing it up. And then we'd be in a different city. It wouldn't be Atlanta or Athens. And then Charlotte was like, this is Home Team. This is a great town. There was great friends here that we know that live here and great restaurant, art, and music. So, and then, I think Eli said, my grandma is more home team than everything. And I said, well, no, my grandma. And so we just and then we started going back about family and how that's really all our core home teams. And then, and kind of going out from that and we just talked about it a lot and about how, that everybody's got a home team somewhere, be it, band, Widespread Panic or Fish or Atlanta or Athens or Boulder or whatever, it's this home team is a big thing. It's, is large, is universal. So and then we just, kept talking about that and how, obviously music is positive and love and home team is, for us is positive and love and good times and good friends and good music, So it just kept, we just talked about a lot because we were on the road a lot, seeing great bands, just kept expanding on that,
Let's talk about the manifesto real quick, which parlays into what you just said. Home team is a feeling, as it states. It's a feeling. It's a mindset. We have it. We like to share it. It's knowing and being proud of who you are, where you come from. It's what you represent. It's where you are now and where you're going from here. And that is to what you just said. You were talking about, I sort of think about home team in three ways. As an individual, which is what that portion I just read is. Home team is like God. It's like it's your soul, it's your spirit, it's the universe. It's just a presence that's in there that is universal to all things. And you, as an individual, draw on your own personal home team, right? And the next part is the part you just referenced, which is that small, like as an individual, you have a small group of core home team, your own home team. Your family is your home team. Eli speaks about that, about his brothers who gave him blood, to be treated as cancer. It's like that's the most home team thing ever, right? And the other one was upset that he couldn't be the one. That's home team, right? And then the third part is the collective that we sort of all know when we all get together at a show and we got, 50,000 people, home team. That's home team. Those are your close people. So, you know, can you speak to that individual portion? And then you just spoke about the small group, and then speak about the collective.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely right. So, for people, they'll always ask, well, what is home team? I'm not part of home team or the like. And I always say, well, it's not a gang, it's not a club, it's not a frat, it's not a this, it's, everybody can play. We've always thought of home teams inclusive, not exclusive. Everybody's part of home team. It's bigger than just the part. But yeah, like you said, it can be your home team, it's your family, your core group of your friends, your extended group. It's like you said, it's everybody at a show, it's everybody on a hike, it's everybody getting together. It's always for me been, not don't again. For me, it's always like if someone says, "Well, I'm not home team," I was like, my first response is, "Sure, you are." To me, the only thing not being a home team is being hateful and negative and kind of. Unfortunately, like we have a lot right now, there's a lot of hate and division. And, home team to me has always been about positivity and light and love and connection. Again, you don't have to like a certain band to be home team. To me, is home team is just like it's music. It's just like you can like whatever band. You can like you don't have to be from Atlanta or Athens. You don't have to be. It's bigger than me. Bigger than us, but it's just a feeling, a mindset. To me, home team is just so easy. We're all living it, and it's just again moving forward and having connection, being friends. I always say, to me, when I see a home team sticker on a car, I always think, well, gosh, there's probably a friend or a potential friend. I'm going to have something in common with that person. Now, it can be maybe it's going to be Widespread Panic. Or maybe it's going to be some other band. It could be where they're from or they're living now, or maybe, a trail hike or a food, a restaurant, some art. There's going to be some common ground. And that brings me a lot of joy and also brings me some sense of security, knowing that there's going to be someone that I can connect with on some level. And I think that's really, really neat. So that is something that's great. And yeah, the whole, your home team to me is definitely your family, it always has been, like Eli said, with his cancer stuff and his brothers stepping up and that's, his mom and his grandmas and his grandpas and all that. And the same for everybody, the home team goes far and deep, right? It's been around a lot longer than earlier than 1995. We just put on a sticker and, made a manifesto. So, yeah, for sure.
Where did you're known as Mean Gene 13? So I heard where Eli got his name. Where did you get your name?
So, I guess I've kind of been. People used to call me Mean Gene, the taping machine, and then Mean Gene kind of just goes together. So that I don't know who really started all that. I would say 13, came about because some people consider me unlucky. I consider me the luckiest guy in the world. But a run of maybe some unluck. I fell off a few roofs here and there. Maybe had too much. I like to have fun. Definitely when I days we had a lot of fun, And in Athens, the Gilded, which was Lee and Sweet Man and all Mason and all these guys, they were nice enough to let me crash on their couch many a night and many a month. And sometimes we'd fall off the roof. Or I guess I would fall off the roof. So
Oh God.
yeah, I was fine. Everything's good.
I hear you.
And,
I'm okay. I'm okay.
let's keep on going.
Yeah.
So, and I think Sweet Man gave me the 13 moniker. So that kind of stuck from way back then. So that's became Mean Gene 13. And
That's funny. I thought, when Eli talks about, you guys arguing in the car, he mentions that he said, well, that's not how I remember it. As all home team stories go, there's an asterisk over every single one of them. But he's like, I remember it being talking about wrestlers, right? Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair. So I thought Mean Gene might have been your wrestling name.
well, there might have been some of that as well. Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair for sure. There's some.
Who was your guy? Which one was yours?
Well, we both kind of lean toward Dusty, but then you got Ric Flair too, So
I hear you. It's tough. It's tough to beat the American Dream.
yeah, I tell you, And then there was some football in there too. I'm a Florida Gator. All y'all are Bulldogs, so there's some of that as well.
Yeah.
There's also there might have been some Fox lore from when Panic played there in '96. So there's a lot of different stuff that might have happened.
Might have happened. Love it. I love that. That might have happened.
Yeah. So
yeah.
It's there's a lot of out formation out there.
So something that did happen was you famously dressed up as Space Ace. Tell me about that.
Space Ace, and my alter ego, Space Ace. I think his appearance was July maybe. July of 2000, could have been October of 2000, but yeah, I'm a big Space Ace fan. I'm a big Kiss fan. It's a spectacle. Lots of fireworks, lots of, and that's fun. They had great merch. So and they did their a reunion tour right after that, right? Comeback tour '96.
One of their many reunion tours.
Yeah, one of their zillions. Thank God. And those were fun though. And so Space Ace would make appearances every now and then, and you had to catch him because it's he would make appearances at some shows or just some nonsense, and sometimes there would be pyro involved. There's one heck of a story, I think, if it's true, after one of the Pittsburgh shows with me and Eli, after he, beat cancer the first time. So Space Ace made an appearance, and that was one heck of a thing. So one day we can get that if it really happened. It might be on video. Who knows?
Oh, I don't know if I've ever seen a home team video because I believe that's banned. I don't believe that home team allows video in any sense.
It might be in the deep vault.
This might be the only home team video ever made.
I think so.
Yeah. First of many more to come, though. So you were talking about a favorite, you're talking about a memory there, a good memory. Do you have one that you can tell that has your asterisk on it, that's a favorite memory of home team for you?
For me, I'll tell you, well, for right now, I'll say that it's great. I get pictures sent from me or to me by people from all over the world, that see a home team sticker, be it in Thailand at a bar, or someone holding a flag at the Sydney Opera House, or someone I think recently sent us a picture from Antarctica, maybe, with them holding a flag, and just all sorts of stuff. And that brings me a lot of joy, just because I think it's just really neat. And again, it's connecting on some level there's home teams everywhere, and it always has been. And so I like that. I like that home team brings positivity and love and light, and it's to me, it brings people together. I always wanted it to, as it's grown, is to be, something that brings folks together and not divides them. I like that a lot of people kind of just, they read the manifesto or hear people say it's a code to live by, and they just kind of take it and run with it, or just a lot of a lot of the road crews have done that over the years. To we as a taper, I've always we've always made friends with the crew, and always had friends on the crew, and those guys work so hard, so they're, to me, they're, and to hopefully everybody, they're unsung heroes. I mean, without them, there wouldn't be a show that we have so much fun at and can tape and just enjoy and have community and family and friendship. So I would always give, and we would always give, all the crew, stickers and shirts, and the band too. But the crew was, they always worked so hard, and it was always, to me, they were part of that. Just kind of bringing everybody together, a big part of that piece. Obviously the Panic Road Crews run with it, and kind of embraced it, and that's neat. And they, again, they're always moving forward. Without them, the next show is not possible, right? So to get it together and to get it up and break it down. So I really enjoy seeing people just kind of embracing, again, the feeling, the mindset, the whole kind of manifesto language of just moving forward, embracing everybody, embracing, different beliefs, the weirdness, the art, the everything that is part of it, that, again, you don't have to, we're all not going to like the same thing, right? Thank God. But I guarantee
right.
somewhere in there, you're going to find common ground, about something, again, it could be just family stuff, or it could be
it's a great way to look at the home team is the common ground you find amongst the differences. It's the thing that is home. We all have a flag. We have a sports team. We fly our country's flag, whatever flag you're under. And the people who know about home team, it's a flag. It's one of the flags that they fly as a personal, inside way of being, and a group of friends that are committed to creativity, created to positivity, and to better. For me, it's like always bettering myself. It's that internal spirit of just doing better and going forward, as you said.
Absolutely. And I think one of the big things for me, I always thought, listen, home team is about support. Home team, we're not perfect. No, believe me, I'm very imperfect, right? We're going to have on the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
On the way, as it says, there's going to be speed ups in life, right? We're gonna experience, bad stuff. We're gonna experience stuff that we're not great at, that we might make a mistake. But it's how you learn and bring yourself up. And again, if you can move forward from that, and I guarantee you'll have friends, home team around to support you in that endeavor, whatever it might be. It might be through addiction. It might be through a death. It might be through a lost job. It might be through a divorce. It might be through a whatever, but you'll have home team there to support you. To me, I think you'll have home team support you in the bad times and the good times, right? And you have family there too. So to me, part of it that, yes, we're just continually moving forward. Again, might be some bumps, but as long as you can, take a breath, catch yourself and move back up, or maybe have a home team brother or sister pick you up, support.
That's right.
I said, I'm all about home team support. Be it in a friend's business, be it in a friend's life, be it in whatever. And I think that's a big part of home team, is being there for your fellow brother and sister. It really,
and that was an important reason why I wanted to do this with you guys. Is that people say, if someone says I'm not home team, right? I don't. That's no longer acceptable. We need to know. If you don't know what home team is, if you think it's the road crew, or if you think it's, something else, whatever it may be to you, you need to know that you are. And if you want to be, then you will be. And so that's what this conversation is about is, it's just a historical piece of fun, but
Yeah,
philosophically, we're talking about, some core beliefs and some core values that we all share in terms of getting things done for the betterment of our brothers and sisters and our community, right?
yeah,
And that's it.
yeah. I mean, it's always been there. I just threw it on a sticker. I just made a
That's
sticker.
right.
I made a
Oh,
sticker.
let's talk about that. Let's talk
I,
about the sticker. So, as we go back to 1995, Birmingham, Alabama, dead show, you pass Eli a sticker that says, you know, just say no to swag, dirt brown. And as I understand, and you please, I'll let you riff on this, but the next version of that was a home team on a green sticker. The original sticker was green.
yes. Yeah, yeah. So, after, we started this kind of talking about home team and all this stuff, I was like, well, let me make green kind bud is pretty darn home team. So I'll just make a green home team.
Yeah.
Say no to swag, brown sticker. So that's how it started. And I was like, oh, let me make some shirts. So I think I made like maybe not many, 30 shirts or something that were green. And maybe somebody might still have one out there. But, and I just gave them all away. Um, I give all my home teams and stuff away. I might trade a shirt for a shirt, but I've never sold any of the home team stuff. I love to give it away. I love just to spread joy. And yeah, so it was green home team sticker, and then gosh, I can't remember, but probably a few years after that, we changed to black. Probably one reason is
Why not? Because black is the roadie color. I mean,
yeah, black.
everything goes with black.
I love black, and also yeah, road crew has to wear black, right? So that helped them, and so we just went with black. But there I had from the day is we got green home team stickers. I made some green signs, or some might be a picture or two out there, might not be, of someone holding up a big old green home team sign at some shows in the crowd. So if you can find one of those, good for you. And there's some out there, but yeah. And then we went to black, and then now it's kind of the classic is black, I guess. The OG is green, yeah, it's just pretty much just it wasn't any just block letters, just
Yeah, I love that. And so you were let me just talk about that as a design, right? You were way ahead of your time because you can look at modern design and modern font, modern logo design, and you can look at Facebook or any major company basically, and they all had a logo with a circle or something like that, and they all eliminated them and went to a straight font. Like most all companies that are large, multi-billion dollar companies have a logo that is just the word. That's it. No like real symbol. And so for home team to be, basic Arial bold font, four letters on top of four letters, is way ahead of its time. I love it. I mean, it's part of the allure. It's just so simple and so pure.
I say I'm a modern idiot, I guess. It was easy as what I could do, and yeah,
Yeah, that was probably like Microsoft Paint or something.
yeah, it was just easy. So
Yeah, right.
work,
Cool.
and again, I kind of thought that home team's easy. It's just very straight. It's very straightforward. Or is it? It could be. But yeah, it was just yeah, just classic. I was going for classic for sure.
You hit it. You nailed it.
Yeah.
So I talked to Eli about the manifesto in our conversation, and he had, as I understand, he had a health issue with which he was in a place where he couldn't do much but just write. And so he began to write in sort of a creative style. And then as he began to dump, he brought you in to where you guys both began to work together on that. Is that how it went for you? And tell me about what, what that meant from your side, having a good friend, being in such a tough spot.
Yeah. So, you know, that was uh, that time when Eli told me he had cancer was, because before then was what we were just going crazy in a very great way, seeing a ton of music, a ton of shows. And again, just always talking about home team. And when he told me that in 99, um, I was, you know, I was floored. Number one, number two, I was scared. Number three, I think, look, we talked about this obviously over the years since then. I don't think I realized, or maybe I was in denial about how serious it was. It was extremely serious. He
Yeah.
almost died, right? Um, he, and I think looking back, it's probably I guess a good thing that I was in kind of such an aisle. I think looking back, I never really had someone extremely close to me die um, at that point. So maybe I just didn't understand, I was naive, I guess,
So
and
when you have those moments where, you know, tragedy, unfortunately, I don't want anyone to have to go through tragedy or trauma or anything to really difficult points to be sparked with beauty of life, and that seems to be what this was, where there's a situation where, tragedy, hard times have shown their head, and you guys are in a reflective space about life. And then at this point, home team, because home team was what you were focused on. It was the thing you were traveling doing, and you were talking about it a lot. And so it sort of came out, that inspiration sort of came out in this manifesto, wouldn't you say?
yeah, absolutely. He, again, Eli couldn't go see music at that point. He was compromised. He was either, I think, at one point waiting on a bone marrow transplant from his brother, and then had one, so he couldn't go out basically, and he couldn't see many people. I would go up and see him and wear masks and stuff. So yeah, it was a deep time of reflection and what ifs, and we talked about, again, kind of expanded on this home team, what it really meant to us, and the vision, or what it was, and he said, we should, write a manifesto. And again, he had a lot of times. I was still, doing my thing, and so, obviously healthy and able to see shows, and he would say, hey, let's, send me some stuff. And of course, I didn't send him anything. I talked to him a lot about it, and then one day he sent me a draft, and it had pretty much everything we had discussed for many months, in written. And my first thing is called him. I said, man, this is great. This is everything we discussed. I just got it. He said, well, redline it. If you got any ideas, anything I missed. And it was very, very little that I redlined or missed, because we had talked about it for many years. At that point, it was, home team was 4 or 5 years old, and
Yeah,
so,
this was 2000, he said.
yeah, so
99,
5
2000,
years old,
yeah.
so it had grown, and we had talked a lot about it, and morphed and changed. Again, it kind of got it more meaning and more deep, and so that was how it came about. It's my memory. There it did come from a place of reflection, fear, love, um, hope, and it was a really scary time looking back, emotional time, and I'm so glad that he's still here, and that we're all, and that his brother had the right match for him, and that now, what's that, 25 years later, Eli's still here. So
And there's a lot of people that have, there's a lot of home team that have passed, and
Yeah,
and everybody in their individual home teams and the collective, right? And then we remember all of them, and that's beautiful. It's truly beautiful that they are remembered in that way. You know, I can think of a lot of people who have passed away, and they were referred to in sort of social obituaries as home team. You know, and that's a
absolutely,
beautiful thing. And we're
absolutely.
sorry for loss, but at the same time, just that's the essence. You know, that's the essence we're trying to reach out to.
Yeah, I remember one time I went up to one one story here. I went up to see Eli when he was sick, and in Atlanta, but he was at a I think a condo or apartment, all sterile situation. Went up to see him. It's him and his mom, and I hung out with him all day, and then you know, I was going to see music that night. John Hartford, big bluegrass fan, and I wanted Eli to go, and of course he couldn't. So I went, and it was at I think at that Red Light Cafe or somewhere so long ago, 25 years ago, and it was great. And I taped it, and then afterwards, John Hartford is just such a nice guy. I saw him, and I told him about Eli, and told him what he was going through, and he said, let me write him something. I think it was either on the back of a sticker or probably a sticker or something. And he wrote to Eli, and since I can't remember what he said, but he has such great penmanship. If John Hartford, I mean, it's just the most beautiful thing in the world. What I didn't realize looking back on that is John Hartford was also battling cancer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he
Oh my
never
God.
said a thing. And just a few years later, he would pass
Yeah.
away. And I also think about that. It's just like, how home team of just the whole
Yeah.
situation.
That
And of,
is home team.
of
Yeah.
John Hartford to just not say anything about himself, and just, hey, I'm gonna, I'm sorry your friend can't make it. And tell him to keep battling and keep fighting. And, I wish him the best, So, and then I remember I gave that to Eli the next day, and we, hung out again and talked about home team and that, so yeah, again, home team is to me is hope, is love and light, peace, love and light, and I we always say, that's so home team, it's kind of come as part of my lingo and a lot of people's lingo now, and I think that's really again neat and a positive thing to do.
I still see a lot of you're still let me start that again. You're still very involved in the taping community, and I do see a lot of those guys have embraced that, and I see you guys having the flag out, a lot of pictures, and that's fantastic. And we want to big a shout out. We want to give a big shout out to all the tapers that are still doing all that work, that provide us with those tapes for bands that don't necessarily get out that much. In the the big bands have nugs deals and whatnot, but the small bands, still are being spread by the tapers. So that's home team.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I love taping. I've met all my, not all, but a lot of my best friends from taping. I met Eli, right? I met this, it's a great thing. And shout out to all the bands that allow us to tape, because we know it's a privilege, not a right. It's a great hobby, keeps me out of trouble at shows usually. And yeah, there's papers in it. Again, it's a great, I mean, I still to this day can learn of new bands through the taping community, and I can listen and go, wow, that's really neat. I want to go check these guys out and tape them. I mean, that's how I got into Tony Rice years and years ago. Someone said, oh, you like guitar? You gotta listen to this. And it was
Yeah.
not an album. It was tape live Tony Rice. And it blew my mind. And then
Yeah.
I had to go tape Tony Rice and see Tony and buy all his albums. Because, if you like a band, you're going to, at least I am, I'm going to buy their album. So I bought every Tony Rice album. But I mean, yeah, that's how, that you can still learn about new, great music. And I got turned on to so many great bands back in the day by someone sending me cassettes of somebody or a filler on a dead tape or a panic tape or then a DAT tape, and now it's just so easy to get,
Yeah.
all the online stuff. So yeah, the shout out to the tapers, that's home team, spreading the word,
That's
spreading the word
it.
of music, spreading your favorite band, check out this band, so for sure. And, that's how a lot of bands, like you just said, get kind of free marketing, because it's tough, as everybody knows, the music industry is tough,
Yeah.
they're touring a lot, hopefully selling merch. So hopefully that will get some more people to a new band, and they'll go to the show and they'll buy a shirt from the band, because they listened to one of our tapes or something, or somebody's tape out there. So for sure, and yeah, home team tapers, bring it.
It's amazing how wide the wings have spread for our home team. Uh, we've started the home team FM, which is sort of a salute and a nod to the lot days of the pirate radio that you guys used to tote around and hook up to the hitch. But the wings of home team have spread wide. And as you said, all the continents, all the cities.
Absolutely. I call that home team in the wild. Someone sends a picture somewhere. Yeah, home team in the wild. So yeah, it's just, I'm on board with that. Let's do it. People have, and we touched on a little bit, have kind of run with the home team idea. And a good example would be home team barbecue. Like I still bring this example up. They're like, I don't understand. I'm like, well, one great example is how, again, Aaron and home team barbecue has really taken the ball and run with it, and done such a good thing with creating so many jobs, such great food, gives back to the community with so much charity work. Like, and that's been going on since what, '06 or something. I mean, he embraced the home team vision and it's like, hey, I want to do this in a barbecue set, and just run with it. And he actually called me and said, can I call it home team barbecue? And I was like, man, brother, yes. And you're going to be super successful. I know it. And he is. And it's just, to me, that's one of the shining examples of, and you have a lot of, there's home team, there's like home team pest control that's not affiliated. It's different home team. But I mean, I think there's home team photography, home team lawn service, home team this, home team that are,
Yeah.
Or
There are a lot. Yeah.
And I think that's always something that is neat out of that they say, hey, I have this vision and I want to, kind of, hit off the kind of the manifesto, codes or the, and run, have those values, I guess, so.
Talk about home team. Appreciate all of your years of service in spreading the word and helping people know that they are home team to whatever that means for them. But what it means for you is love, light, and kindness and giving. And that's what you've done. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to another 30 years. Spread this word further.
Right on, Russ. Thank you. Home team, brother.
Home team. Thanks for playing.
Thanks for playing.